You know, we hear a lot about algorithms and code when we talk about AI. But forget all that for a second. The real story happening right now, it's a high-stakes gold rush. We're talking about a battle for the future, and it's being fueled by incredible power, cutthroat strategy, and, well, just insane amounts of money.
Let's just start with a number. Look at this, $13 billion. That's not a typo. That is how much Microsoft has poured into one single AI company, OpenAI. And you got to understand, this is way more than just an investment. This is the opening shot. This is the first cannonball fired in an all-out arms race. It's Microsoft planting a flag and saying, we are going to own the next era of tech.
And hey, if you think 13 billion is the crazy part, you're not going to believe this. That quote, it's from Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic. They're one of OpenAI's biggest rivals. And he's not talking about a company's entire budget. Nope, he's talking about the price tag to train one single next-generation AI model, $5 to $10 billion. The price of just getting in the game, it's just exploding.
All right, so the trillion-dollar race begins. How on earth did we get to this point? I mean, this isn't just a few cool startups getting venture capital. What we're seeing right now are the biggest tech companies on the planet. They're making these massive, colossal bets and building alliances that are literally going to define our digital world for the next 10 years, maybe more.
So what you have is this really tangled web of investments. The big cloud giants, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, the guys who own the giant server farms that basically are the internet, they are partnering up with the smartest AI developers out there. And they're not just throwing money around to get a piece of the action. Oh no, they're trying to build the future and own every last bit of it.
Okay, let's meet the AI superpowers. To really get a handle on this whole race, you've got to know who's on the field. You could basically think of it as a fight between 4 huge factions, and each one has a totally different game plan for grabbing that AI crown.
All right, first up, you've got what you could call the incumbent alliance, Microsoft and OpenAI. This is a big one. Microsoft's cloud, Azure, is the only place you'll find OpenAI's tech running. They are locked in tight. And then, right across the battlefield, you have Amazon's big countermove. They've dropped billions on Anthropic, making their cloud, AWS, the main place for training their models. It's a classic head-to-head showdown.
Then there's Google, and they're playing a really interesting game here. They're building their own super powerful model, Gemini, in-house. But at the same time, they're also putting a couple $1 billion into Anthropic, Amazon's partner. It's a pretty brilliant hedge, right? And then you've got the wild card, Meta. They're just flipping the whole table over. They're making their LLaMA models open source, basically free for almost anyone to use. Their whole game is to completely disrupt this closed-off ecosystem.
So, let's get into it. Inside the secret alliances, what is really going on with these billion-dollar deals? Because I can tell you, it's not as simple as just writing a check. We're talking about super complex agreements that are designed to create these deep, almost unbreakable ties.
And how do we know this? Well, it's not just speculation. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, just did a massive investigation into these exact partnerships. And their report, which is based on internal non-public documents, basically gives us the playbook. It's an incredible peek behind the curtain at how these giants are operating.
Okay, so this is the playbook, and it is just wild. Let's walk through it. First, the big cloud companies get a chunk of the startup equity, a seat at the table, so they have influence. Second, and you gotta love this part, a huge portion of that investment money they just handed over, the startup has to spend it right back on their cloud services. It's this brilliant self-funding loop. Third, they start sharing everything. Top engineers, intellectual property, they even work together on brand new AI chips. And last but not least, they get the keys to the kingdom, access to all the startup's secret sauce, their tech, their finances, everything.
So let's be super clear. These are not just friendly investments. These are strategic chess-like moves. They're designed to create this powerful gravity well, pulling in the best tech, the best talent, and the best customers, and making it incredibly hard for anyone to ever break free.
All right, next up, the scramble for resources. Why all this complicated deal-making? It's actually pretty simple. This whole arms race is really just a desperate scramble for stuff that is incredibly rare and hard to get. You can have all the money in the world, but it doesn't matter if the things you need to build with simply aren't there.
To really get this, you have to think about it like a cake, with different layers. This is the AI tech stack. At the very bottom, the foundation, you've got the actual hardware, the AI chips. On top of that, you have the cloud data centers. Then you get the AI models.
And finally, at the very top are the apps that you and I use every day. The real battle here is to control every single layer of that cake.
And this chart, wow, this just shows you the insane scale of what's being built. Now, this isn't their total investment in AI. This is just capital expenditure, or CapEx. It's the money they're spending on physical stuff like servers and buildings. And look at Amazon. In just the first half of 2024, they dropped over $30 billion. They're literally building the factories of the 21st century at a speed that is just mind-blowing.
But here's the kicker. Even with all that money being spent, it's still not enough. This quote is straight from Microsoft's public earnings call. It's a huge admission. A company spending billions every few months is telling Wall Street, we are constrained. They just can't build this stuff fast enough to keep up with the demand. It's incredible.
And this is why everything is so intense. There are real-world bottlenecks, actual choke points in the system. You've got the specialized AI chips, the GPUs. There's a global shortage. You've got the simple problem of power and cooling for these massive data centers. You need enormous data sets to train on. And maybe the biggest one of all, you have a very, very small pool of truly elite AI engineers. If you can control these choke points, you basically control the future of AI.
Okay, so this brings us to the final and most important part, winning the future of AI. What are the actual stakes here? What does it even mean to win this race? And more importantly, what does it mean for all of us?
This quote right here, this is the smoking gun. It's pulled directly from internal company documents that the FTC got its hands on. It reveals the whole endgame. For these cloud giants, the partnerships are just a bridge. It's a way for them to learn everything they can from the AI startups, to suck up all that knowledge and talent. And what's the goal? To eventually become the leader in the space themselves. It's a classic strategy. Embrace the new thing, extend your control over it, and eventually dominate the entire market.
So this really boils down to the billion-dollar question, or maybe trillion-dollar question. Is this a winner-take-all market? I mean, with the costs being so high and the resources being so scarce, is it even possible to have multiple winners? Or are we just watching the creation of one or two gigantic AI empires that control everything from top to bottom?
The big worry here, the thing that regulators are really looking at, is something called lock-in. Think about it. Once a smaller company builds its entire technology on, say, Microsoft's special chips and its Azure cloud, the cost of switching to Amazon or Google becomes massive. It's not just money, it's time and a huge technical headache. And that's how today's friendly partnerships could pretty easily turn into tomorrow's monopolies, locking in the dominance of these big players for a long, long time.
So, when you peel it all back, this is so much more than just a corporate fight for market share. The outcome of this arms race, this high-stakes game, is going to decide what the very foundation of our digital future looks like. So as we watch these giants build their massive empires, the really important question we all need to be asking is, who's actually in control of what comes next?